Greetings and welcome back to the TSV Sports Show. I'm your host, Jasper Lindsay. Today I'm joined by Steven Risotto, Armand Archignani, and Marco Milani. We got a packed show for you guys today. We're talking a little NBA, talking a little Osaka, Serena, talking a little Daytona 500. So let's shoot it out to Marco for our favorite segment, Skating on Thin Ice with Marco Milani.
Thanks for calling it the favorite segment. There was some news this morning that Erik Karlsson will be missing some games due to a groin injury. This was the same defenseman that was signed to a mega deal in the offseason a couple of years ago. Starting in his place tonight will be once again Frederick Claesson and Nick Malausch, who will be on the third pairing. But hopefully this means that the Sharks will actually improve a little bit more on defense. But let me just use this time to say congratulations to John Leonard on his first National Hockey League goal. The rookie out of UMass scored on an absolutely beautiful shot on Tuesday night. And like I said, they played against the St. Louis Blues. They are in St. Louis for another road trip. So gonna be fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know if St. Louis still has it going, but they had the rally rat, so we'll see how that goes. Legendary tennis match last night. Last night here in Australia was the morning at the Australian Open with Serena and Naomi Osaka. Marco, our local tennis fan, is going to break that down for us too.
What a match. It seemed like it was going to be equally matched, but Osaka took it the entire way. Serena was able to get a couple of shots back, and it was just it was great tennis. It was to for lack of a better term, it was back and forth the entire time, or almost the entire time in like the first set and possibly the beginnings of the second set. But Osaka just knew what she was doing. She held her own and she won in straight sets. I'm trying to see what the score was. I believe it was 6-4, 6-2, if I'm not mistaken. I'm probably wrong on that. But great match, and it is confirmed that she will be facing the American Brady in the final for the women.
And who's your pick in that match? Will Osaka hook another trophy?
Osaka. The thing I really like about Osaka is that she can take anything and she can find an answer for it. But that is tennis. But Osaka has a special way of finding holes in the other opponent's game and just exposing them. That's what she did with Serena. Serena had a lot of power, but Osaka got a lot of the finesse. It was amazing.
Yeah, and I think Osaka handles adversity really well, and especially for a young tennis player like herself, that's huge. Moving on to the NBA, we had a huge game last night with the Warriors and Heat where they took it to overtime. The Warriors pulled it out despite Curry's poor shooting night and not having Draymond on the floor. Armand, this win was incredible. Break it down for us.
Yeah, I think this was a really big win for the Warriors just in terms of team morale. You know, when I saw the late scratch of Draymond not playing, I thought, yeah, this is not going to be a good game for us. But when they went down 14, they were still like scoring a little bit, and they still showed glimpses like trying to score and trying to get back into the game. And I think guys like Oubre, Bazemore, and Wiggins had good games to solidify trying to get back into the game in the fourth. They had a little run going in the third, and that's what gave me a little glimpse of hope that they might win this game. And the defense came through at the end.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the more underrated players of that game was Eric Paschall. Just his ability to work through those three guys in the paint and just go up for those layups through contact and get those crunch time and ones, I'd say, because those are 3 point. He usually gets those buckets when the Warriors need 3 points. And I mean, just his play and the heart he plays with is incredible to watch. And I think that speaks a lot to just Steve Kerr's overall culture he's built there, where you're playing for each other. There's no individual guy who can just play ISO ball all night like a James Harden or a Kyrie. But yeah, I really thought this was an impressive win, especially heading out on the road. Curry came alive a little later in overtime. He hit the "it's over." It was a fun game to watch. It's the thing I like about this Warriors basketball team is just sometimes they're really scrappy, and at other times they'll just have lights out shooting nights. I wish they had more of an identity, and I think they're starting to develop that a lot. I mean, and the other thing is their bench is like sneaky deep. I mean, they have these guys like Marcus Mulder or Kent Bazemore, as you said earlier, who just kind of come off the bench and just give you solid minutes off the floor. Speaking of the Warriors and Draymond, he had some comments the other day about player treatment. Armand, what were your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think he said a lot of good things, to be honest, because when guys are when guys are stressed out on a team and they don't want to play for them anymore because of maybe the culture or their minutes, they get sort of like they get sort of mad about the situation, but they can't speak on it. They have to be, as Draymond said, they have to be professional about it. But when teams can come out and say it, it's a different story. I think what he said was good for the NBA to see where they need to take a step up in these trade talks.
Yeah, absolutely. And Draymond's one of those guys who will always give it to you straight. He's not going to play around or anything. Um, but yeah, I think Draymond said a lot. And with Harden, like Harden was it was clear that when we saw him wanting to leave Houston, he was not in shape. He was not giving his best effort. He was mailing it in. And he was kind of scapegoated as the reason the Rockets are falling apart. And it's no secret that he was. But then when a team wants to trade a guy like Andre Drummond or Blake Griffin, they just can come out and say they're out indefinitely. Like you're taking these guys who love the game of basketball and not letting them play basketball because you don't want to see them get hurt or injured. And it's kind of ridiculous. Um, Moving on to our guy, Steven. We have the MLB coming up. So we are going to preview this. Let's start with the NL West, Steve. Who do you like?
Well, I think it's hard to bet against the Dodgers, not just in the NL West, but not just in the National League, but in the entirety of the league, in entirety of the sport. The Dodgers are the best team in the game. They're building with the additions we see with Bauer. I know there's some issues coming up in terms of their future with whether or not they want to bring back Corey Seager, whether or not they want to extend Bueller and Bellinger. But honestly, this team is looking at a 3-4 year window of like a possible dynasty. That's clearly what they're building. San Diego, they just made the big move extending Tatis. They are not playing for second place. So I think that this has the chance to blossom into one of the best divisions, or one of the best rivalries, I should say, in the game, just down the freeway, of course. Um, San Diego, I think it's all going to depend on how they play the Dodgers. I mean, if they play the Dodgers rough, we might see like a 1-2 game difference in the division, but it's going to be close. But I think the Dodgers, of course, walk away. There's not much significance there besides those two teams in the NL West. I mean, San Francisco, was pretty good in the expanded postseason, but obviously that's not coming back. Rockies and Diamondbacks kind of, they'll battle for the cellar in the division.
I think the big thing with the Padres is just how young they are still. I think the Dodgers
Mhm.
have a lot of guys who have been there. They know how to compete. And with the Padres, I think like with Tatis, I was making the point earlier that I still have yet to see him play more than half a season. And
Yeah, that's fair.
in our sample size, awesome, great. But if he can't stay healthy, I mean, Manny Machado has shown he hasn't really reached that point where he can take over in San Diego. So I think if anything, the big questions are their hitting, but their pitching is going to be lights out. They have the addition of Blake Snell. They have a guy like Chris Paddock who can just go out there and give you solid innings. Dilson LeMay, and then even Mackenzie Gore who's coming up through the farm system. So they're really good.
Yeah, and $650 million for the left side of the infield.
Crazy. All right, jumping over to the NL Central. Not a lot to see here. Obviously, this is going to be the Cardinals division with the additions of Nolan Arenado, along with their young core. Steve, any surprise teams may come out of that?
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I think it's St. Louis. They haven't had a losing season in like 15 years, I think. It's been crazy. They brought back Wainwright too. They brought back Molina. Of course, Arenado adds to their offense. This is a good team. I think the Cubs definitely, I mean, what they're doing to kind of rebuild their pitching staff, I think the Cubs bullpen and pitching staff is going to be an issue. They're facing some tough questions with some of their guys, Contreras, Bryant, who knows. Um, and some people even have the Brewers leaving that division. So I don't know. I don't know where this division stands. I think it's a crapshoot, to be honest with you. I don't think it's very good. Pittsburgh's going to lose 100 games. The Reds, who knows? Maybe the Reds could even hop in there if they have. But the Reds also have questions with Castillo and Sonny Gray. So it's just a division full of moving parts, to be honest with you. But I would agree, Cardinals.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, now moving over to the wildest division in baseball, potentially the NL East, where you have teams like Washington, who we still don't even know what they are because their lineup is pretty much just Juan Soto. Then you have Miami Marlins, who are this young up-and-coming team. You have the Braves, who are an established team. And then you have the Phillies, who we don't even know what we have there.
Yeah, so I would still go with the Braves on this one. I think they took the Dodgers to a game 6 or game 7, I should say. I mean, was it game 6 or game 7, whatever. They took them pretty hard in that series, and they're getting, a really good pitching staff back. Soroka's coming back. He was your ace in 2019. You're bringing in Charlie Morton, who's, had very good years. He's a veteran guy in that rotation. Drew Smiley. You bring back Marcelo Zuna. That's a good team. I mean, I wouldn't sleep, even though the Mets did some things, I would not sleep on the Braves. I still think they're the leaders. But the Mets, I do believe, get that second wild card spot. They're good enough. The question has always been, even going back to, with Matt Harvey and Syndergaard and Wheeler and Matz, it's always been their starting pitching, but they've never been healthy on the mound. It's going to take a lot more than Jacob deGrom. Marcus Stroman's going to have to step up. There's guys on that rotate, and I think they add another guy. I think they add Odorizzi. They missed out on Bauer. They got a great offense. I still think they might add Jackie Bradley Jr. We'll see. Phillies, of course, you mentioned. We don't know what they are. They could play spoiler, I think. I think they got better in the bullpen. I think they had like the worst bullpen of all time. Like, that's not even hyperbole. They did, like, statistically. Nationals are weird because, like, they won the World Series. They lost Rendon. They lost Harper the year before, and they just never did anything to, like, replace them. They have a good staff with Scherzer, Strasburg, and Corbin. Lester they added to the fold. That's going to maybe play spoiler. And, of course, the Marlins, they have young pitching, and they have the best farm system in baseball. So this is the best division in the game, but I'd still go Braves.
Yeah, with the Nationals, I think it's also going to depend on Robles's progression. Can he become a guy who can put up a 30 home run year and add another power bat to that lineup? All right, hopping over to the AL, we have the AL West, which Steve, I really just don't know what to make of this division. I mean, I can't tell what the Astros are going to be. I think they're starting to unravel. Ever since they lost Garrett Cole, I think they've been starting to unravel. The Angels, who even knows if they're a wild card team? The Mariners, one of the better farm systems in baseball. And then, of course, you have the Texas Rangers, who another team with just so many question marks, and the A's, who look like the favorite as of now to win. What do you make of this division?
I would say Houston's the favorite. I'd
Really?
still put my stock in Houston. Yeah, I like Michael Brantley back there. They're intriguing because they weren't good. They weren't the Houston Astros of 2017 or 18 or 19. But they were, they competed in a postseason series. Like they were pretty good against Tampa. Oakland takes a step back. I think losing Simeon, losing Hendricks, they don't have an ace, like a bona fide ace. That's why they get hurt in the wild card games, because they don't have. I mean, they've been rolling out there with Homer
You don't
Bailey.
think Luzardo can take that next step?
Oh, he has to. He has to. I think Luzardo has a chance to be a Cy Young contender, but he's not there yet. So I would like somebody. I don't want to see Mike Fiers like as your ace. Come on, seriously. But I think they take a step back. Like, I would even say mid to low 80 wins. I would go that far with them. Seattle has a chance to open some eyes with some young talent. We like Kyle Lewis, of course. Angels could be interesting. And Angels, as we mentioned with the Mets, pitching. They have not. When was the last Angels ace? Jared Weaver? I mean, it's been a while. Uh, so the Angels just don't. I mean, they hit. They have Mike Trout. They have Shohei Ohtani. I mean, you could hide Pujols and like let him hit 15. Who cares? So they have a good kind of strong core, but they just don't have any pitching. And Texas, I don't expect anything out of them. So, yeah, that's a strange division.
Yeah, and then moving over to the AL Central, that's another kind of strange division. I mean, you have the Twins who can just hit the lights out of the ball, and then the White Sox who look like they're building a contender, but we really just haven't seen them put it all together just yet. And then you have Kansas City rebuild, Detroit rebuild. I like the White Sox out of this division, I think.
Yeah, I think the White Sox are going to, it's going to be their division, next few years for sure. Minnesota lost too much in the bullpen, I think. They lost like Romo, Whistler. They lost a ton of bullpen arms. Odorizzi's probably going to head out. So I still think they're going to possibly make the postseason, but Chicago's just got a good team. They have a great rotation with Keuchel and Giolito's become an ace. And they have a great, young talent up the behind. Moncada, of course, the outfield, I'm forgetting his name, Jimenez, Luis Robert. They have a good team. Kansas City is interesting because they made some moves this offseason to get a few players. They got Mike Minor, Carlos Santana. They could be interesting. I mean, they just traded for Benintendi too, so I don't know what's in their future. Detroit sucks, and in the Indians, their reign is probably over, and they have pieces to deal off Bieber, Ramirez. So yeah, I'd go with the White Sox.
All right. Last division we got on the day is the AL East. I think this is the Yankees division through and through. The Blue Jays, they're going to be interesting. If their young talent can take that next step and really, especially their rotation with guys like Nate Pearson, if they can take that next step and be consistent, I think they have a good chance of capturing a wild card or even competing with the Yankees down the stretch. The Red Sox, they're getting old. They don't have a whole lot left in the tank. The Baltimore Orioles have, according to, I forget what the study was, but they have a 0.0% chance of making the playoffs. Yikes. And then you have the Rays, who are the big question mark. I mean, they're obviously going to take a step back, losing Blake Snell and some of their starters. And I don't know if Randy Arozarena is legit yet. So, Steve, give us your takes.
Baltimore, yeah, we could probably get out Baltimore already. Boston, oh god, they had one of the best outfields in the game a few years ago with Bradley and Betts and Benintendi. There's just no pitching there. I could see them bringing Bradley back, but there's just no pitching at all, even in the bullpen. Tampa Bay is going to take some kind of step back. They're doing something creative with their pitching staff. They're trying to get all, Rich Hill, Chris Archer. There's a few guys, and they're going to mix it up with the pitching. But they lost Snell and Morton. I think if they won the World Series, they would not have traded Snell. That would have looked so bad. But yeah, I don't know who Randy Rosarina is. If he is, legit, then he's one of the top players in the game. But he's still young. We'll see what happens. Maybe he's the guy that St. Louis thought they were trading. Toronto, I think, needs another arm. I like Ryu. I like Pearson. Preferably maybe another arm there. I don't know if it's, bring back Taiwan Walker. I thought they would get Paxton. They didn't. But they have great young players for sure. And you can't go wrong with New York. The Yankees, their offense is just too good. Even too good enough for Brett Gardner to even be brought back for the millionth season in New York. So they're good. They're really good. I would say their pitching staff, though, is a question. I don't necessarily like anything outside of Garrett Cole. I mean, Corey Kluber hasn't pitched in 2 years. Luis Severino is a huge question mark. I mean, anything else is really, we just don't know. So, but they're going to hit enough to where that they could win the 10 to 11 games. So New York for sure.
Yeah. All right. So it's going to be interesting what happens with baseball this year. A lot of great storylines. All right. Next, we have the Great American Race this weekend, the Daytona 500. We have Marco, you're just our sports guy. You're just our all-around sports guy. I know you love NASCAR. Tell us what you thought.
That was an amazing race. That really was. But I was watching back the tape just the other day, and Michael McDowell, the winner, from Glendale, Arizona, of the small team Front Row Motorsports. He probably had an effect in that accident that caused the two Penske contenders, Keselowski and Logano, to spin. I think I saw McDowell give Keselowski a bit of a shove, but that's what happens when you have aggressive racing. And that's just what happens in racing. You get aggressive and you get too aggressive and then you wreck. And that's just the story of NASCAR right there. But that was a great win. But the real storyline that I took from it was Bubba Wallace of the new 2311 team, the team owned by Bulls legend Michael Jordan and JGR driver Denny Hamlin. He had a lot of opportunities to get to the front, but the problem was it was either JGR or there was other manufacturers like Fords and Chevys that couldn't help him out. I mean, Denny Hamlin was back there, but everybody knows Denny Hamlin probably just wanted to win his third straight for himself. I don't think he wanted to help him. But it was, and the other one that I took from this is Alex Bowman. He started on pole, his first pole replacing Jimmy Johnson in that 48 car. Such a shame that he got out in that wreck that caused one of the big caution, or excuse me, the big one is what you would call it. So it was unfortunate. I think he would have had a big chance. Ryan Blaney was in that too, another big Penske guy, one of the young stars of NASCAR. But congratulations to Michael McDowell. Let's see what happens at the road course this weekend.
Yeah, it should be interesting to see. And 2 wrecks, I mean, that's just driving for you, right? All right, yeah. Marco, give us your mock of the week, our favorite segment. Well, we have 2 favorite segments. We love skating on thin ice with Marco, but we also love Marco's mock of the week.
I guess you can't have a favorite, can you? Well, you can have more than one favorite. That's okay.
We're a multi-favorite podcast. We encompass everything.
All right. Well, I was thinking about it. I was thinking about a good trade, and I mean, with the rumors that the 49ers are probably gonna keep Jimmy Garoppolo. I think the quarterback is out of the question. They may select someone in the draft, but I thought of something interesting. I thought they can maybe get some help on defense with a trade. And that is where my mock of the week comes in. The 49ers would trade with the New York Giants to get linebacker Blake Martinez and a 4th, and they send back Eric Armstead and a 4th. So a swap of 4ths and a swap of defensive prospects. 49ers would get the Giants 4th 107, and the Giants would get 114. And I think obviously Armstead had kind of a bad year on his 4-year deal. I think that probably warrants a trade. And Martinez is a young linebacker who can really add something to that core. If they do end up getting rid of a linebacker, probably Al-Shaair, they somehow trade Fred Warner, they get rid of Dre Greenlaw for some reason, or they just have a lack of depth. Blake Martinez can be there. We saw a couple years ago when he was with the Packers that he was a very, very good piece on that linebacking core, and he was good with the Giants in his first couple seasons. So in sum, Niners get Martinez and pick 107 in the 2021 draft. Giants get Armstead and pick 114 in this year's draft.
Yeah, I mean, my initial thoughts on this is I like it. I don't think the Giants are willing to part with Blake Martinez just because that guy's a vacuum back there. But they do have the potential to lose Leonard Williams, a huge piece of their D-line, to free agency this year. So I think Armstead could be an enticing move. Armand, what are your thoughts on this trade?
I like Marco's mock of the week this week, and I think Blake Martinez is a great player, but just seeing that the Giants signed him 2 years ago in 2019, and he's been the leading tackler of the team for the last couple of years. I think that's where we get the Niners to trade Armstead. I don't think they'll take that trade. I think if we send them maybe a second rounder in Armstead, they'll take it. But I think Blake Martinez is just one of the best tacklers in the league right now, and he's going to keep doing that for the next couple of years. And he's young. He's only 26 years old. I think he has a bright future with the Giants, hopefully.
Yeah, and we had the huge news of Carson Wentz to the Colts today. That's another QB off the market. Armand, what are your thoughts on the QB market right now, heading into free agency?
There's really not that much left, I think, to be honest, because we heard that the Seahawks aren't trading Russell Wilson, which is obviously one of the big question marks coming into the year. I think Deshaun Watson, I still don't know what they're going to do with him. I think Mitchell Trubisky and Dak Prescott are the only ones left, to be honest. And we'll see what the Cowboys do with Prescott, because we saw and they didn't have Prescott in the 2021 hype video that the Cowboys put out on Twitter. So we'll see what happens with the situation with Dak Prescott and Mitchell Trubisky in the offseason.
Yeah, I think it's definitely going to be interesting going forward. I do think the Bears try and make a play at Deshaun, just because I think, honestly, their defense has been ridiculous for years now, and they just have not had a quarterback. I liked what I saw from Trubisky down the stretch, but I just don't think they've surrounded him with enough weapons, a good offensive line, and I don't think Trubisky's the guy. I think he's a pretty good backup, great option coming off the bench, but yeah, I think if the Bears got Deshaun Watson and they were able to retain Allen Robinson somehow, that offense could be pretty scary. Obviously, now you have question marks with the Steelers, as their GM said they were going to address Roethlisberger's future soon. That could open up some more doors. And obviously, it's a business, so no job is entirely safe. We very well could still see Russell Wilson get dealt. Marco, you had something to say?
We've been talking a lot about Deshaun Watson recently, but the problem is, I think I'm Italian, so I know the Texans are stubborn. The Texans are extremely stubborn, and they want to keep their footing in this Deshaun Watson thing for the long run. And I don't know why, because obviously he's not happy. And why would you not trade somebody who's obviously not happy with your organization? You can't convince him otherwise. You can't magically say, "Oh, he's happy now." You just have to get rid of him. So I don't think the Texans are going to do that. It's sad, but yeah.
Marco with a Draymond Green rant there. I like it.
Honestly, I don't see how the Texans can't trade him, because what's the alternative? You have him sit on the bench and wait? Like, I don't see a future where they wait around and then try and get less. I think if he's unhappy, and he's already demanded a trade, he's deleted the Texans from all of his social media platforms. He has made it clear that he wants out of there. At this point is whether the Texans can continue to fail as an organization and get less for trading him, or I mean, I don't know what they'll do. They have put themselves in a ridiculous situation now. They've made it clear that Bill O'Brien wasn't the problem. I mean, who even knows if trading DeAndre Hopkins was his call? It might have come from up top in Jack Easterby. So it'll be interesting to see what happens going forward. And with the NFL new league year coming up, we will have plenty of more free agency and trade content, even some mock drafts coming up with Marco. So that's all we got for today on the TSV Sports Show. As always, I'm your host, and we'll see you guys next week.